Thank the Olympians there was a door sealing off the tunnel. He slammed it shut and turned the wheel, sealing it up. He doubted it would keep the monster busy forever, and who knew if he had any more friends down that tunnel. He didn't know what to do. Annabeth was out here somewhere. As far as he knew, the mission had just been blown. He ran toward the platform at the center of the lava lake. An invisible hand clamped over his mouth and wrestled him down behind the giant anvil. Annabeth took off her cap. "Percy, what were you thinking?" she said. "We're gonna have company," he said. He told her about the dog monsters. "Telekines," she said. "Telekines?" Percy asked. "No, telekines," she corrected. "I should have known." She told him about the story when telekines used to make weapons for the gods until Zeus caught them using dark magic. Then he banished them to Tartarus with Kronos and replaced them with Cyclopes. "We have to get out of here," she said. No sooner had she said it, that's when banging sounds came from the door. It sounded like they were breaking it down with a battering ram. "Put your cap back on and get out," Percy told Annabeth. "What? No!" Annabeth shrieked. No, I'm not leaving you." "I'll distract them," he said. "You can use the metal spider to lead you back to Hephaestus. You have to tell him what's going on." "But you'll be killed." "I'll be fine. Besides, it's your quest." Annabeth looked like she wanted to punch him. Then she did something entirely different. Something that Percy could never, ever, ever expect her to do. Ever. She kissed him! Then she ran for the exit. "Be careful, seaweed brain!" He probably would have sat there for the rest of the day, staring around and trying to figure out why she would do something like that, and in a time like this. Then the door exploded with a whole pack of dogfish monsters pouring out. The entire pack scattered around the catwalks, leaving nowhere for Percy to run. "Half-blood!" one yelled. He ran around the anvil, and to his surprise there was a huge scythe laying against the anvil which he didn't seem to notice before. It was about 8 feet long, with its blade curved like a giant monster's tooth. He'd seen a lot of terrifying things, but whatever this was, it made Percy nervous just from looking at it. The closest Telekine, who Percy had guessed was the leader, snarled, "A son of Poseidon! Yes, we can smell the sea in your blood." He felt his heart pounding, but he readied Riptide. "Strike any one of us down, demigod, and the rest of us shall tear you to shreds. And soon your father shall be next, along with the rest of the Olympians." He wished he had a plan. He was kind of regretting he'd convinced Annabeth to leave now, but he just wanted her safe. It was her quest after all, and he couldn't let her fail. It was now dawning on him that this might be the place where he would die. No prophecies for him. He would get overrun in the heart of a volcano by a pack of sea dogs. And the saddest part? Percy loved dogs. Then he felt something burning against the side of his leg. The ice whistle in his pocket was getting colder. If he ever needed help, now was the time. But he hesitated. He still didn't trust Quintus's gift. Before he could make up his mind, the lead Telekine said, "Let us see how strong he is. Let us see how long it takes him to burn." He threw one of the forge's lava rocks at Percy. It bounced right off his face, but it didn't burn him. It just felt extra hot. "Your father's nature protects you," the leader said. "Makes you hard to burn, but not impossible." The monsters howled in delight. He sat up and then remembered what the river nymph told him at the ranch. "When I'm out of the water is within me. It is my life source." He needed the sea. He felt the same tugging sensation he felt when he unleashed his power at the stables. He remembered that scary moment where it had almost got away from him. He had no choice. He called to the sea. He reached inside himself and remembered the waves and the currents and the endless power of the ocean. Seconds later, explosions of water flooded the room. A tidal wave washed the monsters away. Fire and water collided, and Percy shot upward from the heart of the volcano in a huge explosion. The explosion lifted him so high he was afraid he'd end up in space. He flew so high Zeus would have never forgiven him. Then he began to fall. He couldn't tell where because one minute everything was a blur and the next, Percy was out cold. By the way, you know that nasty explosion from Mount St. Helens back in summer 2008? Surprise! That was New York resident Percy Jackson, mixing earth, water, and fire together. Information that mortals will never know. He woke up feeling like he was still on fire, his skin stinging, his throat as dry as sand. He saw jewels on a cave ceiling. He heard gentle waves in the distance. Percy wondered if he was dead, but he knew better. He had been to the land of the dead, and there was no gentle waves. Unless maybe he'd been sent to Elysium. He tried to find the strength to get up, but his muscles felt like they were melting. "Easy," a girl's voice said. "You're not at full strength yet." "Annabeth?" he asked weakly. He looked to his left to find that it wasn't Annabeth. The girl's face was beautiful. Not Annabeth, but beautiful. She had almond eyes and caramel hair braided over one shoulder. She seemed about 15 or maybe 16. It was hard to tell. She had one of those faces that just seemed timeless. She began singing, and his pain dissolved. She was working with magic. He could feel her music sinking into his skin, healing him up. "Who?" he croaked. "Hush, brave one," she said. "No harm will come to you here. I am Calypso." He sat up, just noticing his clothes. He was wearing a white cotton t-shirt and cotton pants that weren't his. Just then, he panicked about Riptide, until he felt it in his pocket. Thank the Olympians. Not only that, but the Stygian ice dog whistle was back in his pocket too. Somehow, it had followed him, and that didn't exactly reassure him. He just noticed the cave entrance off to his right. Straight ahead, he could see a wide-open beach with a sparkling sky. It seemed like a paradise, which he considered suspicious. After his experience in the last couple of years, usually paradises is where he nearly got captured. The girl who called herself Calypso just stood there. He tried to remember what he knew about Calypso from the old myths. He had heard the name before, but he couldn't remember from which story. Was she a monster? Did she trap heroes and kill them? But if she was evil, why did she heal him? "How do you feel, my brave one?" she asked. "How long have I been out?" "Time is always difficult here," she said. "I honestly don't know, Percy." "How do you know my name?" "You talk in your sleep, but not as much as you let saliva slip from your lips." He blushed. "Yeah, I've been told that before." "Yes. Who is Annabeth?" "Oh, friend. We were together when... Wait a minute. How did I get here? Where am I?" Calypso reached up to touch his hair, but he stepped back nervously. I'm sorry," she said. "I've just grown so used to caring for you." "As to how you arrived here, you fell from the sky. You landed in the water just over there. I do not know how you survived. The water seemed to cushion your fall. As to where you are on Ogygia." "Is that anywhere near Mount St. Helens?" he asked. "It isn't near anything, brave one," she said. "Ogygia is my phantom island. It exists by itself. It can be anywhere and nowhere." "But my friends," Percy said. "I have to get back to them. They're in danger." She touched his face, and he didn't back away this time. You're not an evil sorceress, are you?" Percy asked. That made her giggle. "Why would you think that?" "Well, I met Circe once, and she had a nice island too. except that she liked to turn guys into guinea pigs. I promise, she chuckled. I will not turn you into a guinea pig. I am no evil sorceress, and I do not wish to be your enemy, brave one. He looked up at the night sky. The stars were brilliant. There were thousands of them, like the way you would see in only countrysides. He could make out all the constellations Annabeth had taught him. Capricorn, Pegasus, Scorpio, Perseus. And nearly touching the horizon was the newest constellation, Huntress, which was a tribute to his friend Zoe, who had died last winter. Percy, what do you see? He brought his eyes back to Earth. However amazing the stars were, Calypso was twice as brilliant. Of course, he had seen Aphrodite, the goddess of love, herself, and he wasn't stupid enough to admit this out loud unless he wanted to get blasted to ashes. But in his opinion, Calypso was more beautiful than any girl he'd ever seen, because she just seemed so natural, like she wasn't trying to be beautiful and didn't really care about that. She was just... well, Calypso seemed like the kind of girl that every girl should be like. I was just looking at... He found himself staring at her face. I forgot. She laughed gently. She sounded really cute when she laughed. Well, I was wondering if you can help me plant these. She was holding a bouquet of little white flowers that seemed to glow. He reached out to take them, and their fingers touched. Her fingers must have been the warmest thing Percy ever felt. She led him to a beautiful garden outside the cave. It's called a moonlace, she said, and it can only be planted at night. What does it do? He asked. Do? Calypso mused. It doesn't really do anything. I suppose it lives, it gives light, and provides beauty. Does it have to do anything else? I guess not, he said. She took the flowers and stuck them in the dirt. I love my garden. It's awesome, he agreed. He wasn't exactly a garden type, but Calypso had so many plants in so many colors. Roses, sunflowers, honeysuckle, and rows of grapevines bursting with purple grapes that would have even made Dionysus jealous. My mom always wanted to plant a garden. Why did she not plant one? Well, we live in an apartment building in Manhattan, so... She stared at him. You don't know what I mean when I say that, do you? I fear not, she said. I have been on Ogygia for a long time. Well, Manhattan's a big city with not much garden space. Calypso frowned. That is sad. Hermes visits from time to time. He tells me the world outside has changed greatly. I did not realize it changed so much so that you could not have gardens. Why haven't you left your island? Percy asked. She looked down. It is my punishment. Why? What did you do? Nothing, but I'm afraid my father did a great deal. His name is Atlas. A shiver went down his back. He had met the Titan last winter, and it was not a happy time. He tried to kill pretty much everyone Percy cared about. Well, it's not fair to be punished for whatever your father's done. I know another one of his daughters. Her name was Zoe, and she was one of the bravest heroes I've ever met. Calypso studied him for a long time. Her eyes were sad. What is it? He asked. Are you healed yet, my brave one? Do you think you'll be ready to leave soon? I don't know. Do you want me to go? Her voice broke. I'll see you in the morning, brave one. Sleep well. And she ran off down the beach. Percy was too confused to do anything but watch her until she was out of sight. On the other hand, he felt really weak. He couldn't stand on his feet for more than a few minutes. Whatever he'd done in Mount St. Helens had drained him like nothing else he had ever experienced.